What I've done is I've disassembled the top end. I've got the bed sitting on a set of sawhorses here. I've been sanding on it, wire brushing on it, cleaning it up for the last couple of days. And I spent about, probably 3 hours already this morning. The goal is to just get all the paint off of it, get it pretty clean, and I'm going to take it in, I'm going to set it on the planer bed just to kind of let it settle there and get it in so it doesn't get rained on and everything. And then we're going to take and prime it and paint it, and once we get the base all stripped down and repainted and set about where it's going to go, why then we'll start putting things back together and put the bed back on, get it painted up, set it back in place, and ultimately it's going to get scraped, and hopefully we'll have a good machine when we're done. So I'll just do a quick little walk around of it, just a little handheld thing to show you where we're at with it right now. So here's what we got for the bases back there. I've still got to pull the underdrive out of it. Once we get that done, I'll empty the drawers, pull them out, and we'll start sanding and sandblasting as is necessary on this. We've got to rebuild the drive mechanism. Drive mechanism is functional as it is, but we'll go ahead and rebuild it. So here's the bed, and this shows you how rough these are once the paint's stripped off of them. Now I may do a little bit of smoothing and body work to this, because it's pretty rough, and we'd like it to, even after it's painted, we would like it to shed the grime and the cutting oil and stuff fairly well, so it cleans up nice when we're done running it for the day. Now, the thing that I kind of wanted to talk about with this stuff is there's a big discussion going on now about VFDs on these machines, and CNCing them with Linux and all this other what I consider kind of bullshit. As far as VFDs, I run VFD on my other Sheldon. This one's going to have a VFD running on it. Now bear in mind these, and the discussion, I guess, is that they don't produce full horsepower. The motors, if you put a VFD on your motor, why, it's an old wound motor. If you're using an original motor or another old three-phase motor, something that wasn't designed for a VFD, and you'll burn them out. When you look at it from the application of the way most of them are going to be used in the home shop, why, I consider that really to be a non-issue. I run rotary phase converters on the big planer, and I did run my Sheldon on a rotary phase converter for a while. I've never run one, but I'm not a big fan of the static phase converters. I don't know how well they do, and you want to bear in mind a VFD has to be overrated for your for the motor you're running, and to me they're only cost effective for what most guys want to do when you're running probably 2 horsepower or less. Now these Sheldons, and this is a 10-inch, 11-inch, something like that, there's been discussion, and it probably is 11-inch, both of these EXLs that I have. So on the one that's on my big Sheldon, it's either a horse or a horse and a half, and I will probably do the same with this one. You're running them so far under what they're designed for in the home shop that I don't think in practical application, and I'm sure there's exceptions and guys will say yes you can, I don't know that you're ever going to burn up a motor, whether it's a new wound motor, whether it's an older motor, as long as it's in decent condition. You want to bear in mind these 3-phase motors built back in the day, there's really nothing that goes wrong with them from what I have seen. This is personal experience now. I've not really seen anything go wrong with them other than the bearings go out. And the 2 big 7.5 horsepower motors that I run for a phase converter for the planer that I built, why, the bearings were gone in those. That's an expensive replacement on those big motors like that, but I searched them out, got a smoking deal on bearings, so I've got all new bearings in them, and they run relatively quiet now. But other than that, granted they're old windings and everything, but the stuff still seems to work no matter what you throw at it. So to me, running that horse and a half power motor on a machine that was originally designed for a 1/3 or a 1/4 horse, even a 1/2 horsepower motor, why, you've got so much more motor than you actually need that I don't believe you're running it hard enough in a home shop use that it's going to make any difference that you're ever going to have an issue. I've been running the same motor with this VFD on it for, I don't know, the last 8-9 years at least, and I don't have an issue with it at all. Now, my VFD could be tuned better. You know, there's things that I know now that I could go back and do, that I will do on this VFD, that will be an improvement over the way the original one was set up, but the original one served me very well for years. The other thing is CNC in one of these old Sheldons. Now, I've got a little Grizzly that I bought specifically to CNC. It works really well for its size. Yes, these Sheldons in this size range, and you're getting, with these 11 inches, you're getting right into the range of a commercial machine. You're just at the bottom end, in my opinion. So while they can be CNC'd, I think it's a waste of money for most guys' application. For the CNC stuff that I do on my mill and my lathe, and they're both my conversions, they do very well. There's limited capacity on them because they're smaller machines, but they do the job very well. And in my opinion, they're better suited to CNC control than, say, an old Sheldon or an old South Bend, even an Atlas type of thing. The imported machines usually have a little bit more square corners and flat surfaces to be able to mount your controls to mount your scales to, and that type of thing. You know, there's an older gentleman that really promotes Linux CNC and says that's the only way to do the things. He's on the Sheldon list promoting Linux and or any CNC conversion type of thing. He can set them up. He can do, you know, repeatability. It's threading is all done through the CNC controls and everything, and all that's true. The problem is that only works, and it's only quick and efficient in a production environment, and if you have tooling permanently set up for that. Tooling's pretty expensive, and if you're trying to interchange tools through tool holders, if you're changing tools in tool holders, anything like that, any advantage that you have to running CNC, you've lost. You're going to spend way more time, even if you know programming well and programming's quick. You have such a tremendous amount of tooling, and it's, in my opinion there, it's not efficient at all to be doing that in a home shop environment unless you're running one product or two or three products. You've got tooling set up specifically for that, and nothing ever changes. As soon as you change something on a machine, whether it be tooling in tool holders, whatever it is, why, you're having to go back and reset all that. Now, guys will say, oh, it's quick and easy and everything, and to a certain degree it is, but in my opinion, it is not the thing to do on a home machine. So if that's your only machine. Now, if you've got two or three machines, that's fine. But if you've got one machine and it's strictly CNC'd, that's what you're stuck with. So to me, it's not that great a thing. So anyway, that was my little spiel for the day. I did basically just want to show you the lathe bed that we've got it to this point. I'm probably going to degrease it one more time and wash it down, and then I'll go ahead, dry it off again, and it's going to be set on the planer table for the next month or so, probably, while I work on the base and get it set in place and get it cleaned up, sandblasted, sanded, repainted, whatever I need to do. Then I can probably go ahead and put the bed back on and start reassembling things to the extent that I can as we get ready to scrape everything in. So just a little update on the Sheldon. I've got all of the major components stripped down, as you've seen on the bed now. So, all right, well, good morning, guys. Playing with the Sheldon Lathe a little bit more today, and what my plan is today is I'm just going to pull the rest of the drawers out. I'm just going to set them out of the way. I've got parts and pieces inside that came off of the rest of the machine, and we'll get those out of the way. I'm going to unbolt it from the skids, and we're just going to start sanding, sandblasting, wire brushing the cabinet itself off. I'll hit it with some degreaser first, and then the pressure washer, and see if we can't get it, most of the grime and grunk off of it, and then we'll just start cleaning it up. Go ahead and we'll get that primed and hopefully paint it up to where it looks halfway decent, and then I can set it basically in place where it's going to be in the shop. A couple of things I think I'm going to do to it while I've got it apart and while I'm working on it is I think I'm going to put a couple of pieces of square tubing front and back to run across here full length. It doesn't need the support or anything there, and it may create an issue with leveling it, although I don't think it will. But the reason being, I would like to be able to, there's a couple of reasons. I would like to be able to get a pallet jack underneath it at some point in time if we decide we need to move it around with a pallet jack, which is kind of an issue anyway because it's so long and not going to be balanced real well. So, but it may be an option. I think I'm going to, plus if I leave the ends of the square tubing open, I can potentially slide in the roller feet that I've got set up underneath the CNC mill and things like that to help move them around too. So we're just looking for ways to be able to move it pretty much by myself without creating any undue stress and strain and be able to do it. That will also give me a square jacking point so that I can jack it up to either get rollers underneath it, movers, whatever. And so I think it'll be a good option. Plus, I'm thinking, since I'm going to put the VFD on here and run this off a free 3-phase, I will probably put a electronic brake on it so that we can have pretty much immediate stop on the spindle. And if I do that, why, then I could potentially mount a brake lever, foot lever, along the bottom of it. So that's the thinking of it. Last time I was working on this, I got the drive assembly out of it. Somebody's worked on this lathe a little bit. It's kind of been, several things have kind of been Mickey Moused around, and some things are definitely not right with it. So I'll point those out as we come across them and do it. The assembly, in the pivots here, it's got 2 sets of needle bearings in them. The outer set on this side is completely missing, so somebody's had it apart, lost it at some point in time. This shaft is what it hangs on through the cabinet, and it should rotate around here. There should be some rotation, so you can adjust tension on this as you need to. And it doesn't see where, but it does pivot a little bit as you know, when you engage and disengage the belts and things like that. And the way it's originally designed, it fits through the sides of the cabinet, and you won't be able to see it from there. But here, and I guess it's just on the outside, there's a set screw that's supposed to go in here that locks it in place in the cabinet and through this shaft where it's threaded at kind of an angle. So it locks the shaft itself in position, and then it pivots here. That's completely gone, and since this is, for whatever reason, seized on the shaft, why, they've just done away with those set screws and the whole thing pivots there. So I'll address that as we get there. Otherwise, just normal wear and tear. You know, all of these components we're going to completely strip down, replace bearings, bushings, whatever they need, and clean them up, paint them, powder coat them, whatever works best and is appropriate for it. That's kind of the plan today. Basically, just going to strip this stuff out. Okay, well, that's pretty much all for now. I'm going to put the camera away so I'll just unbolt this from the skids, and then I'm going to pressure wash it off. Pressure washed off, pretty well cleaned up. Got some damage to take care of, got it dinged up there, and otherwise it's not in too bad a shape. There's quite a bit of rust along the bottom. We'll probably hit it with a sandblaster just a little bit maybe. Otherwise I've got some rust primer that we're going to put on it. You know, it's going to be a working machine. It's not going to be a showpiece. But I want it to look fairly nice. Got most of the grime cleaned out from inside, I guess. And then this is what the back looks like. So anyway, just a quick little walk around of it, quick little update. I'm going to go ahead and let it dry off, and then we'll start wire brushing and sandblasting and sanding. And spent yesterday sanding on this, cleaning it up. We still got a little bit to do. We got to clean up some edges and some corners, and do a little more work around our feet and stuff. But you know, it's not going to be show quality. I'm not after show quality. I'm after good coverage and something that looks fairly nice but still functional. So we pressure washed it down real well, and then we've gone back, scraped some stuff off, sanded, wire brushed a little bit of stuff. So we still got to do the inside of the oil pan, and You know, we kind of go back and forth about, guys will say just leave them because the paint's going to peel. And the paint probably will peel under coolants and stuff over time, but we'll just deal with it as it goes. I think it's better to make it look nice to start with and then give it a little bit of protection. So, a few little things. We had a bracket welded on the back. We cut that off and smoothed it up a little bit yesterday. But all in all, it looks pretty good, I think. I think it's going to be a great improvement over what it was. So we're going to take and just sand out all the oil tray here today, finish our wire brushing, a little bit more sanding on the sides and stuff, and then we're going to go ahead and spray a coat of primer on it. Okay, one more quick walk around. This is about what we're going to end up with before we prime it, and we're just getting ready to prime it. I've got to wipe it down yet, and then mix some primer and get her shot. Now, one change I did make, we already had a hole in the back of this drip pan, so what I did is I just brazed a piece of tubing in there so we can use that as a little overflow drain. You know, I don't know, there's not enough volume there to run it into a circulant or a circulating coolant system, but there is enough for a little bit of drain overflow. So I contemplated just plugging the hole, but I thought we might as well just put a little drain in there. We can put a bucket down underneath it or run a line to a bucket someplace to just drain it if we've got some overflow there, rather than just running down the back of the tray and onto the floor. And, well, we got primer on it. We'll do a quick walk around again, and then I'm going to end this for the day. Now, the first thing that's going to be the majority of comments on this video right off the bat is going to be how unsafe I was because I wasn't wearing a respirator. I'm a big boy here. Everybody needs to make their own decisions. So for all the safety police that will want to jump on this right off the bat, don't bother, because I'm just going to delete the comments out. Like I say, I'm a big boy here. We pay for our own health insurance, and so I'm not being a burden on society like a lot of the rest of the people in the world are, who don't bother to do that. But anyway, that's my little rant. So here we are with the walk around. Now, the reason I chose this brown primer is this is a heavy rust primer to help stabilize that heavy rust. This I probably could have got by without doing that, but a little extra protection is not going to hurt at all. So I'm very, very happy with it. I'll let this dry for about 24 hours. And tomorrow, if the weather's about like it is today, well, I will go ahead and shoot this with color. And there we've got actually 6 holes there. The 2 right in the center are for the Sheldon emblem that will go back on there. Those other 4 holes, I suspect, looking at the pattern, somebody probably had a padlock hasp on there at one time, and I contemplated filling the holes, but like I said, this is a using machine. So primer came out real good. It's relatively smooth, and for on a machine here for a sprayed on finish, I'm very happy with that. Now we're getting out here in the sun. It's going to wash out. But anyway, all the heavy corrosion and paint buildup that was on the legs actually came out very, very nice. Got a real nice coat of paint on those, all 4 of them. And so we just continue to walk around as I step around the shop mascot here that doesn't see fit to move. We go back to this side here. And yeah, all in all, I'm just really, really happy with it. It came out real nice. There's our little drain line that we put on there, and the other side, so up in the tray, why, it's covered real nice. It's fairly smooth, and so in 24 hours time, if everything's right with this, why, we'll go ahead and get some paint on it. This is going to be a kind of a light blue. It's going to be the navy blue or close to the navy blue that was on there. I've already done things like the steady rest and follow rest with the blue, but it's a powder coat. So since we're not powder coating, why, we're going to have to match it. But I think we can get a fairly decent match without too much trouble. So anyway, that's what we got for right now. I could have painted the door and the drawers all at the same time. Probably would have been nicer. But by the same token, the main cabinet's the main portion of this whole thing. So once I get it painted up, why, I can set it in place, and then we can start putting stuff back on. The things like the door and the drawers, they're, like I say, I'm not too concerned with matching. We're going to weigh out our paint on our paint scale and make sure we've got a consistent match, and we'll record what we're doing with it. So that way, like I say, we get a really good match and everything comes out the way it should. So you can see in the background here just a little bit, we've got the Sheldon Lathe cabinet. This is the blue-gray that I've decided on, and this is a mix out of just a couple of standard industrial colors. And we'll take it around. I just now finished spraying it. Looked like I had a couple of sags on the backside, but there again, industrial machine. So let's take a look at it and see what we got here. So just sprayed it. We'll come back after it's a little bit later in the day when we got a little more sunshine on it and see what it looks like. So all in all, everything looks pretty good on it. Pretty happy with it. We'll go ahead and leave this sit and dry here for a couple of days, and then we'll lift it down and get it into the shop in its approximate location. I think I'm just going to bolt it down to a couple of roller stands for right now, get it inside, because I'm going to have to move it around a little bit to have access to it as we start working on it. So this is the way it looks. You know, like I say, I'm pretty happy with it. I probably would have liked maybe a little bit brighter blue, but realistically it looks pretty good. It's not quite as light as the stuff that I powder coated, which just means for the most part that everything else I do for this lathe, we're going to we'll paint just like this. You know, I'd had hopes of getting a real close match and being able to powder coat both of them, or, you know, powder coat parts and spray it interchangeably and have them be a very close match, but in reality it doesn't matter. The rest of the cabinet, the drawers, the doors and stuff, we'll go ahead and prep the same way, prime and paint them, and we'll use the same primer and paint on everything. But let's see here, I think, yeah, up here in this corner we've got a little sag, a couple little sags. That's kind of nasty there, but there again, it's on the back. Got one there and a little bit up in this corner. I should have probably waited until just a little bit later in the day when it was a little bit warmer to spray this, but there again, it'll be okay. Looks like up front I don't think I've got anything on the sides or the front of it that's going to show any sags at all. It looks pretty good. So that's what we got with it. You know, I'm pretty happy with it all in all. So like I say, we'll let that set for a couple of days. The next thing, like I say, I'll just get it set inside on some stands. We'll finish out the doors and the drawers and get them painted up so they match, so they can go back in. And then we'll start slowly reassembling stuff. Okay, a little bit later in the day. Boy, lighting sucks. Nice and sunny out here, so we can get a look at this a little bit better. But I'm really happy with it. Now, there's the gray we've got out in the sunshine. This will probably wash everything out pretty bad, but you can get a little bit better idea. Looks really good. I'm really happy with it. When it comes to paint colors, this is not really a true battleship gray, I guess. It's just this side really gives a better look at the color, I think, out here in the sunlight. When we look close, I do have some sagging here on the back where I got a little bit heavy, and it's mainly at the top. Well, the only place it's at is at the top, because I was trying to make sure I had lots of paint underneath the edges and then down these corners. So we got some sags there, but there again, like I say, it's at the back. Now when it comes to paint colors, I don't get too awful concerned. I picked this because that's kind of the color that it was to start with, you know, and I imagine this was a navy, you know, came out of off of a ship, out of a Navy shipyard, something like that, just from the blue that it was. Underneath it had some green in some places and a little bit of just gray in others. But this is what we came up with. I'm happy with it. I don't get too excited about colors. I want something that looks nice, and I kind of want to be close to original on some of these machines, but different branches of the military had different colors that they put on their machines when they put them into service, and that's kind of what I think I followed on this one. So I'm happy with this. You know, it'll look nice when it's done, and it'll last the rest of my lifetime, hopefully, and on to my son. But anyway, this is the way it looks. I'm going to let it sit here for a couple of days and dry, and the week while we'll set it down, I'm going to put it on some rollers and roll it inside, and that'll let me still have it be mobile. But anyway, there we go. Hopefully you find that a little bit interesting. Comment suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below, guys. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.